Hello, this video is meant to complement the rest of the material that I have on my website on the couples counseling page. And my hope is that it just gives you more exposure to me and that it helps you decide if you'd like to work with me or not. So I'm going to try to give you ample information about how I approach couples counseling, how I structure the course of a collaboration with a couple, how I structure each session, and an understanding of why I approach it the way that I do. I'm also going to try to clarify my role as the couples counselor, maybe touch upon the differences between couples counseling and individual counseling, which one might be indicated, which one might be most appropriate for you in your situation, help you figure that out if you're confused about which modality would be the right one for you. And then I might touch a little bit on how I think the Egalitarian Way is special or different than what might be the most common way that couples counseling is done. And lastly, I hope to get to what is essential of you, of the couple, in the event that you want to do couples counseling with me, what's essential for you to be able to succeed and make the whole process worthwhile and enjoy the rewards that come with it. So my approach, I do refer to it as the Egalitarian Way. And I've been doing couples counseling for 13 years now. And this is an approach that is a synthesis, an amalgamation of so many other couple counseling approaches that I have integrated over the years. And it's also my own unique approach to it. And it's something that I've been refining for quite a while now. I chose to call it the Egalitarian Way because I think that idea of fairness and the assessment that our partner is relating to us in a fair way is the thing that matters most in general across the board with people. When there's this assessment that we're being treated fairly by our partner or spouse, I think we're much more apt to be cooperative, to collaborate, and just to have a good relationship. When there's that assessment that we're not being treated well, that the other person is relating to us in a disingenuous, any sort of unfair way, a way that we try to eliminate with regards to how we relate to them. When there is that sense that someone's relating to us unfairly, I think we're less likely to create the best collaboration that we can in that case, or to have a good faith collaboration with them. And that's really where the magic can only emerge if there are two people that have a good faith effort at trying to be collaborative and trying to be teammates and concerned with each other's concerns and anything and everything that matters to either one of you. So egalitarianism I define as the practice of an equal application of rules to people who voluntarily consent to be in some sort of group together, such as a marriage or a relationship. It's not about equality of opportunity or equality of outcome. I think it's futile to attempt to try to control the external. That very quickly can become coercive, and that becomes non-egalitarian. So rather, it's a practice that an individual can take up in order to produce actions and speech that best lead to a good faith effort at fairness with the person you have chosen to be with in your life. So it's essentially the golden rule. And in the creation of my approach, I'm always assessing for what I think is standards of fairness and ways of relating that I think are fair and egalitarian. To say a little bit more about egalitarian, it's this idea that the standards, the rules, the expectations go both ways equally, that no one's trying to tilt the field in their favor or move the goalposts, so that they get a score and the other person misses on a score. It's non-zero sum ways of relating. I had to think about that for a moment. It's win-win ways of relating, not competitive ways of relating. If you will imagine a matrix or a four squared cell box, in the first cell we have compete. This is the dyad that each you and your spouse, in your ways of relating, competitive, or compete. We can have then in the second one, compete, collaborate, and the third one, collaborate, compete, and in the fourth one, collaborate. What I'm assessing is how each individual is relating, and then how you are relating as a couple. The problem is always if you as a team are relating in one of the first three ways. Someone's being competitive, either one of you or both of you. And the solution is, for the team, is to get both of you to relate in collaborative ways. I want to reference some of the Gottman research. The Gottman research is I believe, the most longitudinal research on couples, perhaps in the world, romantic couples. And they have some same-sex couples, they have heterosexual couples, they have couples with kids, without kids in this research. And they had what they called the Love Lab, basically a condo that they would stay in for a weekend at a time. And everything that they did was monitored. They even had like their pulse or their heart rate monitored in the event that they may be performing or faking that they're not aroused in some sort of way, that it would be picked up by the physiological monitors. And they studied these couples and they created these two categories, the masters of relationships and the disasters of relationships. They were able then to do these 5-year incremental follow-ups on the masters of relationships, not the disasters, because they probably separated, got a divorce, didn't show up for that. And they'd cue them, the masters, in these 5-year follow-ups. How's it going with problem X, issue X, that was obvious during that weekend that they spent in the condo being monitored? And what they found with the masters is that 2/3 of their problems are perpetual problems. The actual number from the study is 69% of a couple's problems are perpetual problems. And that's the masters of relationships. So the saying that goes along with that is marrying someone is marrying a set of problems. And it's not that any couple escapes problems. There's always going to be conflict in any time two individuals are trying to be this one entity. And knowing that there's always going to be problems, you then get curious, well, what is it that makes the masters and the disasters the disasters? And what it is the way that people relate. The masters relate with respect, with levity, with understanding, with reasonableness. So that's what I'm trying to cultivate in each of you with your relating. And I often say that understanding and agreeing are two totally different ways of relating. I believe it's reasonable to seek understanding from people, particularly your partner, and I think it's unreasonable to insist upon agreement of your point of view. So I try to get people to back away from that, particularly as a lens or as a funnel, if you will, for how you assert yourself. I try to get rid of right, wrong, good, bad, correct, incorrect, and right, wrong. I already said that one. anyways, I try to get rid of those ways of relating and insist that each person has a way of receiving what's being said without evaluating it through those lenses. And that asserting is your opportunity to share, to be vulnerable, not necessarily to be persuasive or convincing. That's something that's expected of each of you to give freely as the listener or the receiver of what's being said by the other person. So understanding is reasonable, and I'm going to teach you and insist that you provide understanding. It's not about you getting it up here, it's about you giving it to the other person as a way of relating. And defuse any emphasis, whether it's explicit or implicit, when it comes to the idea that people are to agree with you. And by doing that, I defuse so much of the fighting. A fight being two people who feel too misheard or unheard to listen to each other. So that's a bit about why I call my approach the Egalitarian Way and why I emphasize egalitarianism as a way of relating. It always comes back to how you're relating with one another. I think of my work, my work as working on a conveyor belt or at a factory, just like something's coming down the pike at me on the conveyor belt, apples, if you will, and I'm just there to pick out the bad apples. I'm there to notice the bad ways of relating, the ineffective ways of relating, and to illuminate that to who's ever relating in the ineffective way, and to share with them an antidote, a more effective way of relating, so that you can be more influential with your partner. I often like to share with couples at the beginning this idea of a pie chart of control. We have 0% control over anyone else, over our partner, and then a pie chart of influence. At best, we have a sliver of influence with someone. And it's about the other person leaving their door open to our influence. And I like to say at best, I have 5% influence with someone. If I behave as if I have control over them in some sort of oppressive or coercive way, they're going to shut the door to letting my influence into their life. If I respect that, and I don't try to control them, I don't try to be coercive, it directs me towards wondering, being curious, like, well, what does it mean to be influential in this case? And that's a lot of what we explore when I talk about good relating, being influential. I also mentioned the idea of being skillful a lot. I think those two ideas are very synonymous when it comes to relating. The structure, the overall course of our collaboration. I'm the coach. You two are the teammates. You're each other's teammates. And the best way you can make your team the best it can be is by focusing on how you, the individual, is relating at all times. Our work is about the present moment, the here and now is what we call it in psychotherapy, and helping you to come to the present with something that matters to you. There's going to be a turn taking around this thing that matters to you. And there's some conflict there. Conflict's inevitable in every relationship. And I'm here to help you be able to navigate the most difficult conflict. The thinking being that if you can get at the highest hanging fruit, then you're going to be able to get at the lower hanging fruit, no problem. So you're bringing your conflict, and I'm here to provide some sort of conflict resolution, some sort of facilitate some some structure or a process, if you will, that's going to help you do that. And I'm teaching you to how to do that. That might be the sport that we're playing here, if I were to continue this analogy. Figuring out what to focus on each session is important. It's your responsibility to select the one subject matter that happens to matter most to you at the present moment. And think about that throughout the week or in between our sessions, and come prepared to know what it is and to talk about it, to represent what it is, to maybe advocate some idea that you have, that you want for your team culture, that is important to you, that's something that is important for you to talk about. So you're going to have an opportunity to talk about something, but it's just going to be one thing. You want to identify what the issue or the theme is that you want to speak about. You too will learn the two roles of the sculptor and the supporter. I'll talk about that a little bit more in this video. And those roles will be used to formally process all conflict that you two have until the time that you're able to integrate your lessons, your learnings as a team and process conflict informally. And as a coach, I'm trying to work myself out of this role. I'm trying to work myself out of the role of the one who's facilitating this transformation for your team. And the more eager you two as a couple are to work me out, then the more efficient we'll be at that. We'll just go at whatever pace is appropriate and that you two want as a team, and that's something that we'll be talking about. How fast do you want this process to go? I would think it's probably going to be at least 10 sessions. So the structure of each session is 90 minutes. You're welcome to contract for more time if you think that would be optimal, but 90 minutes seems to be the sweet spot in general. The first part of the session is 15 to 35 minutes. The second part is used for each of you to have a turn sculpting and thus a turn supporting, those being the two roles that I use with couples. So I start off in the first part of the session asking each of you this one question, which is any questions, comments, concerns, feedback that you have for me or about the process. That's just our opportunity to address anything that might be out there that's unaddressed about how we're working together. And then I ask each of you to do a check-in on how you've been applying what you've been learning from our meetings together. And then thirdly, I ask each of you to share what it is that you're going to sculpt on. So that's the first part, and that can take anywhere from 15 to 35 minutes. Just some couples really like to ask a lot of questions about good relating and what egalitarianism is, and just love to come up with these like complex relational challenges and kind of throw them at me, and they just enjoy talking about that quite a bit. Other couples like to get to the sculpting and the supporting and save the majority of the time for that. But I do aspire to maintain a half hour for each of you to be a sculptor, for each of you to get to talk about what it is that matters to you. And that happens in the second part of the session. So that's normally about an hour of time split between the two of you. The sculptor, I think it's pretty obvious that the sculptor is the speaker. They're the one who's getting to talk about whatever it is that they want to talk about. It's their message that we're all in service, the other two of us, in trying to understand. And as supporters, that's exactly what we're trying to do. We're not trying to relate in any sort of competitive way that puts up obstacles for the other person to express their idea. It is difficult to articulate oneself. And how we relate to that person can make that either more challenging or easier for them to do. We want to make it as easy as possible for them to do. We want our presence to be beneficial for them expressing their idea. And that works out great when you're the sculptor, because what goes around comes around. So if you're doing better as a supporter, you're more apt to get that better support when it's your turn to sculpt. And that's how you two make headway as a team, as opposed to being opponents. We're learning how to approach everything as a team. Nothing as opponents, everything as a team. And there's a little bit more detail about this sculptor-supporter dialogue. I'll refrain from getting into that here, but that's something that I'll go over with you before we ever actually meet, if you do decide to contract with me. So why do I approach couples counseling this way? Well, with regards to the structure and the formalness of which I insist upon, I think structure is very useful, and I think it helps you as a team. And if you're not doing very well approaching these things informally, then it just makes sense to do it formally and do it really well. And if you get to the point where you are doing it really well, you can graduate from doing it formally, and we can try doing it a little bit more informally. I've found that most people really appreciate the structure once they've learned it and they're able to apply it, and they recognize that the structure is there to function as guardrails. Outside the guardrails are all the ineffective ways of relating, and inside it are skillful, influential ways of relating that are more likely to get you the outcome that you want from all of this. My role, what you can expect from me, is to facilitate a fair arena for each of you to discuss anything that matters to you. I am the coach who's going to be assessing your performance at how you relate in both of these roles, and I'm able to do that. I'm able to do that really well. I'm an expert educator at good relating at this point. I think of my work if you're familiar with nonviolent communication, to be advanced nonviolent communication, to be master's level understanding of it and application of it, and I'm here to teach you how to apply it in more subtle, nuanced aspects of your relating. So how is couples counseling different from individual counseling? I said I'd get to that. Couples is about two people who want to improve at navigating conflict as a team, so that your team can be the best version of a couple that you jointly envision. If you've got stuff like unresolved resentment, a desire to win at the expense of your partner, you're focused on some sort of fixed outcome, getting agreement, winning, a static setting by the other person, then perhaps couples counseling is not for you. Feel free to contact me and pose any questions that you have about the goodness of fit for couples counseling for you, but maybe individual counseling might be a better place to go with if those are your desired outcomes. So one last piece. How do I think the Egalitarian Way may be different from other ways of doing couples counseling? Well, I'm not sure, honestly, like how other people work. I only know how I work, and I've gotten to witness a few other counselors in my life doing couples counseling, but it seems like a useful dichotomy or binary might be the attachment history, attachment style emphasis or focus that's out there with the differentiation focus that's out there. And differentiation is an approach that I think better describes how I work, which it's much more about the relating and an emphasis on what you can control, less so on an emphasis of what happened in the past and what are your insecurities that might explain your ineffective relating. It's more just about, okay, you're an adult and you can choose good relating if you want to. And we're just going to practice that over and over without blame, without fault finding, and without excuses. We're just going to try to be accountable. And that gets into what I need from you too, in order for you to be a good fit for working with me. I think I need two people that are striving to be adults, which in this case, I think means being reasonable. It means an emphasis on character, mindset, attitude, developing principled decision making, a focus on what you can control and controlling the controllables, which is your behavior and speech, and a willingness to come to the present with what matters for you and advocate for a better future for yourself, as opposed to an emphasis on getting some sort of past outcome that can't be changed. So I think that's it. I think I'm going to stop the video here. And if you're interested in speaking with me, working with me, please go ahead and contact me. Send me an email through the website, or a message through my website, or an email, or you can give me a call. And I look forward to talking with you. Thanks.